Historically, Indonesia have been massive underachievers in international football. Despite their population size of over 270 million, the fourth largest in the world, Indonesia have only climbed to the dizzying heights of 76th in the FIFA World Rankings, and were as low as 191st back in 2016. The 21st century has not been kind to Indonesian football, with multiple controversies heavily impacting the national team. However, 2024 brings a fresh new era for Indonesia, with a young, talented squad taking the Garuda to the round of 16 in the recent Asia Cup and skyrocketing to 125th in the world rankings as of December 2024, whilst also being on course to qualify for the World Cup in 2026. Their first, following the nation's independence from the Dutch Empire in 1945. Has a sleeping giant finally awoken? And how has this happened? Today, we will be looking at the rise of Indonesia's national team. Just before we get into the video, please remember to like and subscribe to see more content like this where we do deep dives into certain football topics. And if you've got any recommendations on what I could cover next, then please feel free to leave that in the comments. Thank you, and let's begin. Whilst Indonesia are minnows of the international game, they have actually competed in the World Cup. Back in 1938, multiple countries have pulled out of the tournament due to the anger of a second successive tournament being held in Europe. In the qualifiers, Japan was supposed to play the Dutch Indies, now Indonesia. However, Japan pulled out of the fixture, meaning Indonesia progressed, after being scheduled to take on the USA in the next round, who also pulled out due to concerns of the tournament being in Europe. Indonesia became the first ever Asian country to qualify for the World Cup. Sadly, the Garuda fell at the first hurdle as they lost 6-0 to Hungary, becoming the record holder for the least number of games played at the World Cup finals. Since their independence in 1945 though, in which their first game was a 3-0 loss to India, Indonesia have not been seen at a World Cup, or even any international tournament bar the 1956 Olympics, in which they crashed out to the Soviet Union in the quarter-final. This was a period of slow decline for Indonesia, but eventually a renaissance began in 1986, when they reached the semi-final of that year's Asian Games and nearly qualified for the World Cup, before making it to their first Asian Cup in 1996. In 1998, they reached their highest ever FIFA ranking, coming in at 76th. From there though, it was always downhill. A massive amount of Indonesia's problems have stemmed from the top. The PSSI, the Indonesian Football Association, used to be, well, how do I say this nicely? Fucked. The actions of the PSSI have been a huge factor for Indonesia's woes. With such blatant and obvious corruption, you'd think that Sepp Blatter was at the wheel. Match-fixing scandals have constantly plagued the country, whether it was players, clubs, owners or referees. But countless times, official PSSI members have also been caught red-handed. In 2018, an executive was recorded on video to have offered a $10,000 bribe to the owner of Madura FC to throw a league game. In 2019, Chairman Edi Rahmayadi resigned due to match-fixing allegations. His interim replacement, Jocky Driono, was then sentenced to 18 months in prison for match-fixing in the same year. Another previous chairman, Nurdin Halid, was also imprisoned back in 2007 for his involvement in a corrupt cooking oil scandal and didn't actually step down until 2011. Yep, that's right, the PSSI was literally run from a jail cell for 4 years, which is actually quite fitting. Sadly, the PSSI is also highly influenced by political figures, undermining its independence. This has led to questionable decisions in the association, such as in the late 70s when leader Suharto appointed his close friend Bardasono as the chair of the PSSI, or in the early 2000s when Nurdin Halid essentially used the PSSI as a political tool for the Golkar party. As an official once said, if you can control football, you can control Indonesia. Because of this, any money that does come through the PSSI isn't the most transparent. On many occasions, revenue such as sponsorships, broadcast deals and tickets have not been fully accounted for, which has seen billions of dollars leak through the PSSI, never to be seen in Indonesian football. This had meant that there was less sporting facilities available to the public, hampering grassroots football and all the way up the league pyramid. And when the government addressed this issue with $1.8 million of funding, the PSSI misused the funds. This has also seen infrastructure such as stadiums crumble with less adequate security and control at fixtures, leading to some of the most tragic stadium disasters in sporting history, such as the horrific events at the Kanjuruhan Stadium in 2022, which highlighted major issues within the PSSI and the government, and its growing concerns around hooliganism within fan bases across the country. If the money was utilised properly, events like these would have been prevented, and in 2015, FIFA stepped in and suspended the PSSI due to its corruption and government interference. You know you are corrupt when even FIFA turn around and say, Jesus Christ lads, come on, calm it down a bit. This meant that Indonesian clubs and the national team were not allowed to partake in any FIFA competition, massively damaging the league, the national team, and interest within the sport. After years of decline and chaos, in 2023, the PSSI announced the appointment of ex-Inter Milan and current Oxford United owner Eric Thohir as chair, who wanted to reform football in Indonesia with the end goal of seeing the Garuda qualify for the World Cup. Born in Jakarta, Thohir has always been a sports enthusiast, originally with basketball and then later football. He brought a majority stake in Inter back in 2013, where he did not have much success and left in 2019. Then brought shares in DC United back in 2012, and is currently the co-owner of Oxford United, who under his watch were promoted back to the Championship for the first time in 25 years. Thohir was also involved in the dealings that saw both Michael Essien and Colton Cole sign for Indonesian side Persib Bandung in 2017, whilst also striking up a partnership between the club and Inter Milan. It is clear that Thohir is passionate about football and raising the standards in Indonesia, and so far, he has been a huge success. When appointed, Thohir's focus was on long-term growth, making the sport more accessible and inclusive, improving grassroots football whilst making the PSSI financially stable and transparent. The first step was to sort out the mess that was the PSSI, and tackle the corruption and shady dealings within the organisation, which Thohir described as, quote, a multi-phase effort. The first phase was to clear up the national team to regain pride within the sport, before tackling the murky waters of Liga 1, the top division of Indonesian football, eradicating match fixing to regain integrity. Thohir also introduced VAR to the top division, and ensured that teams from diverse islands were able to compete, allowing the league to grow in quality and gain more interest nationally. Thohir has also implemented strict measures, stating, quote, anyone attempting to drag us back to old habits will face severe consequences. Since then, over 40 internal employees of the PSSI have been sacked after many audits and investigations, proving to be a crucial step in Indonesia's transformation. The clear-up of the PSSI has also allowed government backing to actually be effective in developing football in Indonesia, with former President Jacko Widodo putting major investment into grassroots football and youth programs, and putting sports as a national priority in his manifesto. The clear-up has also allowed other strategic partnerships, including FIFA, to invest in Indonesian football via its FIFA Forward programme, through investing in infrastructure such as a new training complex in Jakarta and ploughing money into developing the women's game and grassroots football, along with Thohir founding Liga 4 to create opportunities for younger players. This investment has already bared many fruits. Players such as Marcelino Ferdinand, Pratama Arhan, Ronaldo Kuate, and Arkan Kaka have already played a number of games for the national team and are all under 22, with all having huge features within the game. Long-term solutions are great, but Thohir also wanted Indonesia to be more competitive now. And with the approval of President Widodo, he decided to use Indonesia's Dutch links and naturalised players who may not have had a shot at the first team of their birth nations. This has seen the likes of Jay Idzes, Mies Hilgers, Elkan Baggett, Justin Hubner, Sandy Walsh, Jordi Amat, Eliano Reinders, brother of Tijani, Martin Paez and Rafael Strauch all represent the Garuda and instantly improve their first team, with many still being young and can contribute to the long-term vision. The work of Thohir and head coach Shin Tae-young has seen Indonesia rise from 191st in 2016 up to 125th in 2024, 21 places higher than in 2023. The Garuda have also made it to the third round of qualifying for the 2026 World Cup, where they find themselves in a solid position to qualify for the tournament. Finally, Huge efforts have also been made to stadium safety and crowd control around matches following the Kanjuruhan Stadium disaster, meaning people can now attend matches more safely and allows the sport to be more inclusive to the younger generation, inspiring the next wave of Garuda stars. Whilst progress over the last couple of years has been promising, there are still areas to improve. One critique of Tohi's is his reliance on naturalised players, and that it can be damaging to the youth players coming through, contradicting his views on inclusivity. This has also caused another problem. During the recording of this video, the PSSI have sacked head coach Shin Tae-yong and have replaced him with Dutch icon Patrick Kluivert, with the PSSI citing the need for stronger leadership and communication within the team. This decision, to put it short, has been hugely unpopular and pretty stupid. Yong has had considerable success as manager, who can take huge credit for Indonesia's on and off-pitch transformation along with the U-turn in results since 2019. However, Yong was a critic of PSSI's naturalisation project, to the point that many of these players had been dropped from recent squads, which in turn had caused severe tensions between Yong and Tohi. Kluivert's appointment has not helped this situation. Whilst in theory, he can have better relationships with naturalised players, he hardly has a glowing managerial CV. I mean, come on. Is a 16% win rate as interim manager for the Curaçao something to really be attracted by? No, Eric. No, it fucking isn't. This appointment appears to be more strategic for off-field partnerships and attention rather than on-field success, with the PSSI hoping that the lure of a legend like Kluivert will persuade more Dutch players to change allegiances, whilst also strengthening their already tight bond with the KNVB. The work that Tohi has done has been impressive, especially in such a short amount of time. However, this project needs to maintain momentum and integrity over a long period of time if Indonesia were to establish themselves as one of the big dogs in Asian football, making sure youth players develop properly and the PSSI can stay clean of controversy.